We were going over the questions for the Price chapter about attributes and data and had quite the invigorating and enlightening discussion related to the option to query, summarize, use statistics. And what is true is that you really need to be able to look at the attribute table to accurately determine which process you want to use. I had an entirely different visual in mind when I was trying to talk about one of these issues, the number of volcanoes in each state. So I'm going to go through these with you a little bit using an attribute table. So the first one, of course, is find all the towns with more than 20,000 people. So I put in the cities layer from the U.S. data geodatabase. Again, she just says using the data sets for the United States. So everything you need should be in here. So you could have actually opened them up and looked at it. But I'm going to open up the attribute table for cities. And I notice she used the word towns. She didn't use the word cities. So when I look in here, there is a class of city points called towns. So that's got to be my first query. So I'm going to select by attribute all the class that's equal to town. So there's my first query. So I have 89 out of the 3,000 selected. And then what she's asking is just to find the towns that have more than 20,000 people. So I'm going to open up my select by attribute. And this time I don't want to create a new selection. I want to select from the current selection. And I'm going to choose the most frequent or the most current population. And it's greater than, not equal to. And so I have 46. So that would be, and then I would just double check. Was it 20,000 or 200,000? 20,000, yeah. Okay, so that would be a query, and this would actually be a double query. And you ought to be able, and you're not there yet, but you ought to be able to do this by class equals town. So selecting from one field and asking it, yes, I should be able to do that. And pop greater than, yeah, so I get the same thing using a compound query. There they are. Okay. The second question asks you to find the number of volcanoes in each state. And so this is where kind of the conception was interesting, because when we opened up the volcano data, there really wasn't state information here. There's regions. So then I was thinking that there was a field or a feature class that would have had the state name, and then down here somewhere it would have the number of volcanoes and the known eruptions. So I could sort that, and I could select just those number of volcanoes. Is that what they're asking? Have I forgotten already? Yeah, so I could select that and then just do statistics. So 129 would be my answer. However, she did not give you this data. The only data that Price provided was this data. So you couldn't really look at that attribute table and see what she was talking about. So that was what I was conceiving when I looked at this. Other people in the class had a whole different visual impact. They had imagined a data set that looked like this, where there was the name of the state, and then there was the type of volcano, the number of eruptions. So if this was the case, the only thing I could do would be to try to do a summarize and get a count. So if I go here, summarize the table, so I'm automatically going to get a count, but I could also ask it to sum up the known eruptions, just if I wanted to be clever. And I'm going to go ahead and call that and so each state, it gives me what the name of the state is and how many volcanoes are on each state. And if I do that, I should get the same 129 I got in the other process. So that was a huge kind of conceptual difference. The other one then is I could add a field called Hispanic more. That's very elegant. Call it a long integer. So this wasn't even one of your options, but and then I could do a field calculator where I'm taking, let's see, where did they go? Hispanics. Minus black, which is a huge fallacy because in census data, Hispanics are a separate classification because Hispanics can either be black or white. So if you're doing Hispanics black, you're really kind of counting the same people often. Okay, so I'm just going to go Hispanics minus black. So if it's a positive number, there should be more Hispanics than African Americans. So that would be one way to do that. To do it the other way would have to be a query, because remember, I'm looking at the difference between two different fields. So I'm going to select by attributes, and I'm going to just say where did they go? Come on. Hispanics greater than black, apply, and these should highlight my positive numbers that I just calculated. So 26 out of 51 of these records have Hispanic populations greater than black populations. So definitely the query was what she was looking for there. And then subregion has the most Hispanics. So I'm looking, the key word here is kind of, I have one subregion. So I want to know a specific which has the most, not just in general which are most. So I'm going to have to do, clear that. I'm going to go back into my state data. And so I'm going to start with subregion. And then I'm going to ask it to sum the Hispanic population. So I'm going to go sum the Hispanic. And I could also sum the black if I wanted. By subregion. And so and I don't think I put this in I might be able to do it anyway. I'm going to do a diff by region. and I'm going to do a field calculator. She didn't ask you to do this, but I'm just feeling quite peppy here. Minus black. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't do it, and this needs to be in a geodatabase to do that. So, but by doing this, then I could find out, is there a region where the total number of Hispanics exceeds the number of blacks by subregion, not just by state. But being able to look at the attribute table is key, I think, in really being able to determine what process that you want to do. And you should always open your attribute tables and look at your data.